I'm not a justice-minded person. Why did I help her when she was being harassed by thugs? I can't even understand it myself. I was in a hurry, with an important errand ahead of me. And yet, this beautiful girl looked up at me with those big eyes. My name is Tom. I'm 28 and work at an advertising agency. Just your average Joe working a 9 to 5. If there's anything that sets me apart, it might be that I have no family to speak of. My mom had me without ever getting married. I know nothing about my father. Never even heard a peep about him from mom. For me, the absence of a father figure was just the norm. Apparently, my mom cut ties with her own parents before I was born. By the time I had any memories, I had no grandparents either. Raised single-handedly by my mom, she passed away just as I was about to graduate college. Sitting by her sick bed, I cried, telling her I wish I could have done more for you. She simply replied, "You didn't need to," before slipping into unconsciousness. And just like that, she was gone. It was a very her way to go. Whimsical, a tad selfish, and slightly eccentric, that was my mom. It wasn't until I entered the workforce that I realized I might have inherited her personality. The way people perceived me was eerily similar to the way I saw my mother. Makes me chuckle thinking, like mother, like son. But hey, I made it to 28 just fine. I'm sure mom's watching over me from wherever she is, feeling content. At work, folks think I lack oomph but agree I'd get the job done. I'm motivated, it just doesn't seem to come across that way. Some even think I'm holding back my true potential. Truth be told, I enjoy my work. There's a sense of accomplishment and a clear end in sight. The only slight complaint I have is about my immediate supervisor. His name is Kevin. He used to be in charge of training us newcomers. Now, he's our direct supervisor. Kevin has always had a bad reputation around the office. He rarely does any work but has a knack for making it seem like he does. It would be more accurate to say that he is smart. Basically, he's incredibly good at taking credit for others' achievements. On top of that, he's an expert at brown-nosing the higher-ups. The kind to climb the ladder by using his subordinates as stepping stones. I know it's different for everyone, but it does make me wonder about his character. Being entrusted with such a big project alongside Kevin really gives me a headache. It's a major contract and a large-scale project, with formidable competitors to boot. The CEO himself has said that we can't afford to lose this presentation. Kevin is a project leader. We're supposed to work as his hands and feet. I did all the work for the presentation's content and created all the documents. I believe that, together with the other staff, we've come up with the best we can. Kevin only gives us sarcasm and notices, but does nothing to help us. I even doubt he fully grasps the project's details. His main job seems to be giving a summarized progress report to the CEO. You could say that's pretty much all Kevin does for work. And of course, he reports it as if it's all his own achievement. Some staff members are getting sick of Kevin and losing their motivation. It also became my role to listen to their complaints. With the final presentation scheduled for the next day, I was feeling a bit nervous. Only Kevin and I are set to attend. I don't think Kevin even checked the presentation details. I'm thinking it's a presentation I'm going to have to work on alone. I doubt Kevin even looked through the presentation materials. I wish anyone but Kevin was accompanying me, but he's the project leader, so there's no helping it. I sincerely hoped he wouldn't get in my way. On the day of the presentation, I left my home earlier than usual. No matter what kind of accident might occur on the way, being late isn't an option. I decided to take a shortcut to the station to get to the presentation venue ahead of time. I don't usually go this way, but I passed through a park behind the station. It turned out to be a poor decision. Let me go. Looking in the direction of the voice, a high school girl was surrounded by a sketchy group. They were insisting on hanging out with the reluctant girl. I couldn't just walk by, so I shouted, "Hey, knock it off." All eyes from the sketchy group turned to me at once. They looked a bit older than the high school girl. They seemed like college students who were used to having their way. "She's clearly not interested." They sneered at my words. The apparent leader of the group aggressively said, "Mind your own business." He didn't seem to want to back down. The high school girl looked up at me, clearly seeking help. Forcing her isn't manly. She doesn't want to hang out with you guys. Get it? At my words, they became menacing. I suddenly heard the sound of something cutting through the air. In the next instant, a sharp pain shot through my face. It wasn't until I hit the ground on my knees that I realized I'd been punched. Looking down at me, doubled over in pain, the gang laughed uproariously. My vision started to blur. Just when I thought, this isn't good, the gang's ringleader let out a scream. As my consciousness began to fade, the last thing I saw was a high school girl repeatedly kicking the leader where it hurts. Guess I wasn't the hero of this story after all. Listening to their screams, I slowly closed my eyes. While unconscious, I had a dream. I heroically saved the high school girl, and she thanked me. She hugged me, saying thank you, making me feel on top of the world. And on closer inspection, the girl in the dream looked a lot like my girlfriend from high school. Even though I knew it was a dream, I enjoyed the sensation of her embrace. Cut me some slack, it's just a dream after all. Hey, how long are you gonna sleep? A gentle hand brushed my cheek. Just when I thought, what a great dream, I opened my eyes to see the high school girl looking at me with concern. Seeing her face, the first words out of my mouth were "I'm sorry." She was far more beautiful than my high school girlfriend ever was. Jumping into a fight when you're clearly not a fighter, are you stupid or just too kind? She said with a mix of exasperation and amusement. Not exactly the thanks I was expecting. It kind of ticked me off. But thanks anyway, she said with a sweet smile. I was completely captivated by her smile. Whoa, and in the next instant, I shot up and checked my watch. I was over 30 minutes late for the presentation. Checking my phone, it was flooded with missed calls from Kevin and from the head office. Sorry, I gotta run. I grabbed my things and dashed towards the subway station. I could feel her eyes on my back, but I had bigger problems. Outside the client's building, I ran into Kevin. As soon as he saw my face, he swung at me. "This whole project is screwed because of you. What's your deal? Got into a fight and now you're late. Give me a break." He grabbed my collar and berated me. "I'm sorry, I got caught up in some trouble." Kevin, not having any of it, immediately called the CEO. He was reporting that the presentation had failed. And all because I was late. He plans to put all the blame on me. Of course, my being late is inexcusable. But Kevin is the project lead. Even if I wasn't there, it's expected he'd handle the presentation. There's no way Kevin, who hasn't even read the documents, can step in as a substitute presenter. He was probably bombarded with questions at the meeting. Seeing Kevin timidly report, I started to care less about what happens next. The thought of working under this guy for much longer paints a bleak future. By the time I was called into the CEO's office, my decision was already made. All the mistakes from this presentation lie on Tom. Ruining such an important presentation hurts me too. Seeing Kevin play the victim and rat me out to the CEO almost made me burst out laughing. The CEO just listened to Kevin silently. "Tom, any words in your defense?" "I'm sorry. I got caught up in a mess and was late for the crucial presentation. I'll take responsibility and resign." I could tell from the look of surprise on the CEO's face he wasn't expecting that. Making excuses won't change the outcome. I firmly placed my resignation letter on the desk. I didn't miss the smirk on Kevin's face. I bet he feels relieved with me gone. I was kind of really sick of it all. Everything no longer mattered. I didn't wait for the CEO's response. I just bowed and left his office. I quickly packed my personal belongings and left the workplace. As I was leaving, I looked up at the building of the company I had served for years and for some reason thought of that high school girl. For the next 3 days after quitting, I just zoned out. I didn't even feel like going out until the swelling on my bruised face went down. The small photo of my mom in my room seemed to be smiling. She might be shaking her head at me from above. Or maybe she's laughing, thinking that's so like Tom. Either way, I needed a break. I kept reassuring myself of that. It was on that evening the CEO came to visit. I was eating some pasta when the doorbell rang. I was taken aback seeing the CEO at my doorstep. I had no idea why he would visit me. "I'd like to have a word. Is now a good time?" he asked in a calm tone, and I nodded. The room was a mess, but I managed to make some space for the CEO to sit. Meanwhile, he was staring at the small photo of my mom. Sir, please, have a seat here." There's only a cushion for him to sit on. I present a particularly flashy cushion to the CEO. But the CEO didn't move away from the mom's photo. Curiously, I look up at the CEO's face and am taken aback as if my breath was taken away. Without uttering a word, the CEO is just shedding tears. Seeing him quietly cry, I'm dumbstruck and forget to say anything. I have no idea how much time has passed. It turned out just as I thought. The CEO said, still captivated by the photo. To be precise, he's staring intently at a picture of my mom. "You know about my mom, don't you?" The CEO silently nods in response to my words. Seeing him cry this much in front of my mom's picture, I figured they must have been close. After the cancer was detected, it all happened so fast. It truly did. Maybe she was holding back from feeling sick. By the time I forcefully took her to the hospital, it was too late, and there was nothing I could do. Hearing about my mom's last moments, the CEO finally faced me. "I'm sorry for coming in unannounced. Your departure was so abrupt, it reminded me of her," the CEO said, looking once again at my mom's photo. "Excuse me if I'm mistaken, but don't you know my dad? If he knows so much about my mom, he must know about my dad too." That's what I thought when I asked the CEO. The CEO looks a bit troubled. I suspected he might know a secret related to my father. "Tom, would you be willing to take a DNA test?" With those words from the CEO, I understood everything. It made sense. I wanted to brush it off, but the words were stuck in my throat. She disappeared from my sight in an instant. As soon as my arranged date with my current wife was set, she vanished, and that was that. He must deeply regret that time. The CEO seemed to struggle to find the right words. My mom, considering the CEO's future, stepped back. "I've heard that the CEO's wife is the daughter of a senator." "Is that so? Sounds just like Mom. But sir, if she were still around, would you have chosen her?" "Oh, that's not the right way to ask. Could you have chosen her?" My sharp words made the CEO flinch. Thinking he was the only one hurt was a big mistake. As visiting me, suggesting a DNA test, felt almost like a betrayal to the family he has now. I don't have a family. I'm all alone in this world. That's why I understand the value of family. I thought the CEO should live to protect his current family, rather than dwelling on the past. If you're seeking atonement, Mom would probably say, I began. Huh? I don't need your pity. The CEO stared at me, probably seeing my mom and me. Could you please leave? I'm not even your employee anymore. Pointing at the front door, the CEO seemed at a loss for words to say to me. He probably wasn't used to being outright rejected by someone. In the end, the CEO couldn't even say a word to me and just left through the front door. It was the first time I met my dad, but I didn't feel anything special. I'm not in for playing silly games. That night, my late mother appeared in my dreams after a long time. She was laughing so hard she was holding her stomach. It seemed she'd seen the way I sent the CEO packing. And she said, "Good job, son," praising me. Waking up with a tear of joy, I realized how fortunate I was to be her son. Mom and I are so much alike. The moment I got out of bed, there was a loud knock at the door that almost gave me a heart attack. Why would someone bang on the door when there's a doorbell? I cautiously approached the door to check. "Hey, I know you're there. Open up." I recognized that angry female voice from behind the door. It was the high school girl I met in the park. I opened the door fearfully. She looked like she was about to kick it in. "Dang, was just about to break it down," she said, lowering her foot that was raised to kick. I was trying to process why she was here. "I've got something to discuss, interim big bro," she said with a sly grin. I got the message and realized what she meant. Erwin, right. The CEO's daughter. She beamed and said, "Bingo," raising both her hands in a victory sign. Without waiting, she swiftly entered my apartment. She tossed her shoes from inside to the doorway. Such bad manners for a CEO's daughter. Sighing, I arranged the tossed shoes and looked back into the room. I saw her, with hands clasped in prayer, standing in front of my mom's photo. The long lashes around her tightly shut eyes trembled slightly. She must be nervous in her own way. "Did the CEO tell you about me?" "Nope. Found some documents my mom was looking into." She turned to face me and began talking. Her name was Olivia. Apparently, she was the only child born to the CEO and his wife. Sadly, after giving birth to Olivia, the wife was diagnosed with cancer and had a full hysterectomy. She's still tormented by the fact that she hasn't given him a son. She blames herself for not being able to produce an heir. At that time, the CEO found a photo of my mother he had kept hidden, and after hiring a private investigator, they traced back to me. Olivia said she sneakily saw the documents her mother had kept hidden. Seeing my picture, she was surprised. Turns out, the guy who helped her in the park by chance was her own brother. She felt it was destiny. "Thanks for that time," Olivia said, giving a little nod. "Apparently, Dad said to cherish the family, but Mom knew about you. It's your job to keep my seemingly falling apart family together." She then handed me the DNA test papers. The idea of me holding her family together is beyond bizarre. I've always wanted a brother since I'm an only child. Mom can't have any more children but wants a son, and Dad, wanting an heir, is waiting for you. Receiving the documents, I wasn't sure how to respond. It all seemed to revolve around Olivia's family's needs. What's in it for me? They come in, disrupt my quiet life. Don't they feel guilty? I thought it was a lousy negotiating technique. I guess my feelings showed on my face. Olivia smirked. "There's one benefit for you too." "What?" "It doesn't seem beneficial to me at all. You get a cute little sister like me." Olivia made a peace sign and laughed, showing it right in front of my eyes. "Isn't it great? Both of us not being alone anymore. I see. Olivia seems to be a better negotiator than I thought. She presented a pretty tempting offer. Moreover, she looked confident. She seemed to not even consider the possibility of being turned down. This seems like the time to give in. All right, I give up. I'll take the test. Before I could finish, Olivia jumped onto me. Holding her soft, warm body, I panicked. It's been so long since I've had such close contact with anyone. It's overwhelming. Whoa, hold on. I'm not confirmed as your brother yet. You'll get me caught. Trying to gently push Olivia away, she resisted, hugging tighter. In a very soft voice, she said, "Thank you. That CEO is one lucky man. Having such a thoughtful daughter. Plus, wanting a son too. Talk about luxury problems. But if it means I get a family, why not? If Olivia no longer has lonely nights by herself, then maybe my existence isn't in vain." From the DNA test, it's confirmed that the CEO and I are related by blood. When opening the results, I met Olivia's mother for the first time. She's the complete opposite of my mother. Elegant and gentle, the kind of woman who supports her man. She respectfully bowed to me, making me feel somewhat embarrassed. I thought she might dislike me, being another woman's son, but she welcomed me so warmly it was shocking. She even cried out of happiness for having a son, and I was at a loss for words. In the end, after the DNA results, it was decided that I'd return to work. I was appointed as the CEO's secretary. Essentially, I'm to support and learn about the CEO's work up close. I didn't want to live with him right away, so I'm still living alone in an apartment. Olivia frequently visits, sharing her troubles and complaints with me. Lately, she's been seeking advice about love. Who would have thought, a year ago, that I'd be giving love advice to my little sister? I've been guiding her, helping her with her love matters, so she can make the right choices. It feels rewarding when she confides in me, sharing troubles she can't discuss with our parents. However, there's one major issue. At this age, having such a cute sister has intensified my protective instincts towards her. I'm even having a hard time dealing with it myself. I reckon when Olivia gets married, both the CEO and I will be crying our eyes out. Family sure is something, I sighed with happiness. My mom is probably watching over me from the above, laughing. Thinking, serves you right, such a luxurious problem to have.